A man, yes, strong man, integrity man. I am a man. I am a man. I am a
Hey, yes.
Man, we're there. Welcome to the mailbox. Here every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101, the family station. Welcome to another week inside the program designed for men with guests who are men, hosted by men. I'm Kevin Bailey, and with me, my co-host.
Gordon Morrison, it is I. Good afternoon, everyone listening in. Welcome to the mailbox. Kev, what's your say on the new curfew hours?
Yeah.
Do you think they help? Do you think they will work? What's your thought on the Prime Minister's announcements of the new curfew hours? How was your weekend?
Well, the first part of the question, we see the numbers going up. We're told by the medical professionals that the hospitals are bursting on the seams, and we just haven't been doing well, with the relaxed hours. We haven't been maintaining the protocols, and therefore we're seeing the results of that. So, I want to encourage man and family that we maintain, listen to the experts, social distancing, wear your mask. We have available vaccines. People can make a choice. I have done mine, and I'm very well. I'm okay. And so we just need to do what we need to do as best as possible so that we can be healthy and be respectful at the same time. So, we don't like the restrictions, and at the same time, we're still in the middle of it. There are new variants, we're told by the experts, and so we want to be respectful of that, Courtney.
It's serious out there. It's very serious out there. Whatever is happening out there, I guess, based as you say, on the medical experts' advice, we should really try to see what we can do to ensure that the numbers dwindle or stays down. There's so much information and misinformation out there, which is correct. Sometimes you ask a question which is correct. But
how was your weekend?
My weekend
Yes.
was good. Yesterday was my 30th wedding anniversary.
Spent
it together. I want to give a big shout out to a gentleman by the name of Cornell Campbell. Karen and I went to a place called Subbies to eat yesterday, lobster and curried shrimp and stuff. And we were sharing our anniversary, and the owner, Subrati, said to us, hey, she, 30, she looked at us and she was shocked. She said, you guys don't even look 30 years old. And then she said, here what, I'm going to call my husband. He's a racehorse trainer. And so they decided to give us a discount. Karen have a new hairstyle, mohawk with the streaks in the side and go down in a V in the back. And this gentleman is standing to the side looking at her and admiring her and tell her, I love your hairstyle. I love your hairstyle. And she goes over and we start to have a discussion. And he started to tell us that his wife died 2 years ago. And it would be a good time. He has 2 sons. But here's what happened now. We talk, he took pictures, and then he comes over to us and he says, you are all good. You are both good people. Whatever you want to eat, I will pay for it.
Wow.
Cornell Campbell from Toronto. Sobrates. Big shout out. And so our meals were paid for. It's like Jesus paid for it all. And then when I said to him, I'm a pastor, may I pray with you? Oh God, he started crying. Man there.
Bless
Real
God.
man.
No, that is heartwarming. And
Yes.
Muriel and I will celebrate tomorrow, God's willing, 32 years. So I just want to say before that to Muriel, great woman, and very happy. Samuel and I are blessed to have her in the family. So we thank God for that. Courtney, I observed something during the Olympics, and I just thought that maybe I'd share on your perspective. Quite a lot of the athletes, I was listening to the females when they did win a medal and they were doing shout out. They said, who would you like to shout out to in Jamaica? And I heard, I want to shout out to my mom and shout out to my coach and sponsors, etc. And I didn't hear any shout out for the fathers. So I was just saying to my wife, oh my gosh, it just pained me. And I know the reality, you know, I know the reality. And yet this is something we have to change, you know. Like I would have said, why is it that the fathers weren't mentioned? Courtney, what's happening? What's your take on this? You know, I know we're getting better. You know, we're improving as men, as husbands. That's what the research is saying. But why is it that I couldn't hear 3-4 of these athletes bringing up Daddy?
I know.
Yeah.
Hans
So that is just my.
Did speak about his dad, and I took interest because he's both a Morant Bay former high school student and a Kingston College student.
High school, big up.
Yeah, man. You see the green and white and the purple and white prominently, and what he did was just fantastic for a man as well. And I heard Shelley-Ann Fraser doing something that really warmed my heart when she says, I want you to stop speaking about the men the way you're speaking about them, the male athlete she was talking. So I'm supposing, even although fathers were not spoken of, our men were still spoken of, and there were words of encouragement. But I'm really hoping to hear the changes and the transformation in the narrative of the stereotypes that are there, you know. But it was noticeable. Yet there was also, for me, the heartwarming thing of them speaking to the men and say, look here, our men deserve for you to encourage them and not beat them down. What a man Hansa Parchment is. Awesome stuff.
Oh my, he must have gone to Morant High School, must have come from St. Thomas. So what to big up all the MBHS people, Carpet Diem. And the fact he represented us. I know he came by KC in the sixth form. But we have to take most of the credit, right?
Sure, you set the foundation. We just smoothed up the rough edges that were there and made him into the wonderful person he finally became. So we take our credit there as well. 2 years is not a short time. So awesome.
We're proud of our athletes.
From one Kingston College student to another to win the gold medal in the hurdles. Omar McLeod was also a Kingston College student. But the new curfew times, we have to respect them. It's 7 p.m. from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Churches have gone back to 50 persons in total, and the time for Sunday is 2 p.m. I do believe, though, our church persons have been more of the responsible individuals. And, you know, I hold the position that we probably should be given a little more, but it's fine with me. It doesn't bother me. Because I think the church has been given a new leverage on life that even a little church of 20 people is now on the World Wide Web. International church.
Amazing. Is that what the word says? All things work together for good to them that love God and those who are called according to his purpose. You know, Courtney, last week we started the conversation on Jamaican married men. So this week we're gonna continue the chat. Remember, lots of people gave responses. You know, very candid. We appreciate that because this is where we challenge, we encourage, we empower our men to be better. So today inside the mailbox, we want to take a look at the Jamaican married man. Are Christian married men doing enough to uphold the standard of what marriage should be? As Christians, should we be setting that example? Should we be the standard? We believe God is the one that instituted marriage, and should we be the good models? Do you think married men respect their marriage enough? What are we saying about that? We need, man, your perspective as well. Are Jamaican men getting married for the wrong or the right reasons? What are the right reasons to get married? What are the wrong reasons? And do you think the foundation of most marriages are wrong?
Wow.
No, these are some of the questions and much more we want to ask Courtney.
Those questions are asking about many wrongs. What are some of the rights that exist must also be mentioned, and we are going to be having a special host guest this evening to help us to answer those questions. His name is Jace Mary. He is a photographer, videographer, and founder at I Am Remnant Jamaica, and he's a husband of one wife. He's not like David with 3 or 5. He's a husband of one wife, and he's not like Solomon with 700. One. An audience of one. So this evening, we're excited to have this conversation with him. Kev, what about you? There he is.
Yep. Looking forward to it. I'm excited. There you are, Sir Mary. Welcome to the mailbox. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Happy anniversary to the both of you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Between the two, we're over 60 odd years of marriage, brethren.
That's 60, and I'm at 6, just 6.
Oh my, that is great. You know what they say. What they say, Jace, is that if you have been married for more than 2 weeks, you know how hard it is. So you've got 6 years. That's a lot. That's a lot of years.
Never heard that one before, but
no, believe me. So congratulations. Great to have you with us. Very excited, Courtney.
So, man, we want you to remember. We want to hear from you this afternoon. Please speak with us. We want you to. We are live on Facebook and YouTube at Love 101 FM. That's the handle we have there on Facebook and YouTube. You can leave your comments via our WhatsApp line 876-997-3125, or give us a call at our studio lines at 876-968-8327. Women, oh God, we adore you, we love you, we appreciate you. But remember, this program is for the men to be the ones who call. We appreciate you. We want you to give us your comments on our Facebook page, on YouTube, or you can text our WhatsApp line. But remember, no voice notes. You can text us. Again, the number for you is 997-3125 and our air code 876. We love them good, and a bad we love them good. Only enough. So remember, help us. That we want to hear your responses. Man, please call. This is an important issue, and we want you to join in with us. Okay?
That's right, Courtney. We take a break right now. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back, to know more about the Jamaican married man. Now we have a man in the place here that can answer all the questions in back broad. So this is the mailbox. We take a break. We'll be right back.
Get ready.
I am my man, yes.
DJ says so winning and everybody know this. I summer full of cash and prizes. Million every week, make a running for the niceness. Call 142 for the richness. DJ, bongs. Digicel make a rich together. DJ, bongs.
Make we rich together with Digicel. Just call 142 or dial star 142 $ for a chance to win your share of $42 million in cash and prizes. Each entry costs $100. From now until September 14th, make we rich together with Digicel. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Life comes at you fast and it can hit hard. Apply for the Credit Union Prepaid MasterCard from CNWJ with chip and PIN protection. Need a card with a personal line of credit for emergencies? We have that. Need a card you can use to shop online for that must-have item? We have that. The community and workers of Jamaica Prepaid MasterCard. All the convenience of a MasterCard. Discover the benefits of belonging.
NIS pensioners, avoid the wait. Get your NIS pension straight to your bank account. It's easy. Simply visit the Ministry of Labor and Social Security's website, mlss.gov.jm, or the nearest NIS office and collect the direct deposit application form. Then complete the form and submit it along with supporting documents to the NIS office nearest you. Avoid crowds and long lines. Get your money when you want it. The National Insurance Scheme, always working for you.
Love 101 wants to say thank you to our sponsors for the I Love Summer Tour. University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC, fostering leadership and innovation. Shade Purified Water, drink up. Stay cool. Distinction College, providing opportunities for you. Fosrich, your solar lighting and LED people. Chris and Charles, when you think loans, think Chris and Charles. Jamaica Customs Agency, country above self. It's the I Love Summer Tour. It's time to explore. The I Love Summer Tour is on the family station, Love 101.
I love it. Hey man. I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes. Strong man.
Welcome back, welcome back. You're listening to the program, The Mailbox, live here on Love 101. Today is August 11, 2021. Kevin, we're almost in September already, almost time for school to restart. And again, the restrictions due to the protocol, due to coronavirus may play a significant part in the reopening of schools. Kev is my co-host, Kevin Bailey, counseling psychologist at Family Life Ministries. Wonderful person. When I grow up, I want to be just like him. And we also have today inside the mailbox with us a Jamaican married man. He is our guest. His name is Jace Mary. He's a photographer, videographer, and he's also founder at I Am Remnant Jamaica. He's a husband, and he is not like Solomon. He has one wife. One. Welcome again, sir. It's good to have you with us. He is the one we're going to be putting some pointed questions to today for him to answer. I'm glad he's the one sitting in that seat so that he can answer these questions. You're a brave man, strong man, wonderful man. You're a man. And so, Kevin, you see, I'm not like the doctor who injects you with the needle and you look in his face and you can remember him because he gave you that injection and it was painful. So I allow Kevin to ask a hard question so you can remember him put you on the spot. So Kevin, fire the shots.
That's why I love Courtney, so, you know. Jay, great to have you. Do you think marriage is respected in these days? As a married man, you were single, and you decided to go through this brave step where you're committed to one woman for the rest of your life, right? It is said that in marriage you become one, but which one? And you know the challenges of that, right? So tell us, from your perspective, do you think that marriage is respected, these days? Tell us, Jace.
All right. Good evening again, everyone. Can you hear me?
Sure.
All right, great. The first thing that comes to mind when that question is asked, what does the divorce rate look like? And it's something that I've really asked myself in recent times because, I just feel like we're going through a time now when as soon as something gets hard, the man or the woman is saying, hey, I can't deal with this marriage thing anymore. How I feel it was back in the day, and you guys can correct me because you are my elders. But I feel like, back in the days when the struggles came, that man and that woman, because of the respect on that union and covenant called marriage, they would go over and beyond in order to make it work. So even when the arguments come, even when the rough times come, even when the financial issues come, because there was a respect on the covenant and the union of marriage, I believe that, a lot more sacrifice was being made. But now, looking at the divorce rate, and the numbers are there, the statistics are there, we see that, hey, guess what? Why do we have this spike in the divorce rate? Is it that marriage is not what marriage used to be? Or is it that we have some persons who are saying, I've gone through this for 6 months and I can't deal with it anymore? And I'm not talking about those marriages that maybe they were never supposed to be in the first place, because we know that we have some marriages that are maybe forced. But I'm talking about marriages that, you have your regular issues. But at the same time, at the end of the day, are you going to give up, or are you going to say, I was put with this person, and this is a covenant, and this is a covenant with God, and I'm going to stick it through. So, I mean, I don't think that the respect is there. And I guess it's also based on what I've heard, growing up. Maybe I've heard that, marriages, though they were tough, and when you hear the testimonies of what the man had to go through or what the woman had to go through, and they're happy because they fought for their marriage, I'm not feeling that anymore. So maybe it's just me, but I don't believe that the respect is there as it used to be.
Wow, powerful words. Do you think the marital vows given are being paid attention to for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness or in health? Until death do you both part, and not until one kill the other. But in death, you remain together. Do you think somehow we are not in premarital counseling? Are those highlighted enough, or do we leave persons with roots that says whenever the problems come, it is time for you to see that this is too toxic, let's go? Are they going to seek counsel? Do you think persons seek counsel, especially our men, when it comes on to marriages, and that could help in the breakdown of marriages in the respect of what is happening?
Well, before I can even answer that, I want to look at what society dictates for us as human beings. We go to school, we get a job, we get an education. The next step is to find a woman or find a man, come together in marriage, and the next step is to have children. And after that stage, the next step is to have grandchildren and to grow old. And I believe that is what society for years has dictated. That's what life is. So what it means is that if you're not married, you're not living. If you don't have children, you're not living. And that is how we have been educated. So when I think about that, I'm like, okay, do we spend enough time, doing our research and getting ready for marriage, or are we caught up in what persons say our lives should look like? You're supposed to get married. Why aren't you married? You're in your 30s now, you're not married. You're in your 40s now and you're not married. And all of these kind of stuff are the things that we have to deal with, especially for our women. I believe, when you get to a certain age and you look and you see all of your friends getting married in your age group, you're like, God, what happened to me? I want to get married too. But at the same time, if we are running into marriage just because we want to fulfill what society says marriage is, then I believe we're going to overlook some very important steps getting there. Premarital counseling. And I believe that premarital counseling is thrown around a lot these days. There are many pastors, or I'm not sure if all pastors, but I think so. Premarital counseling is a prerequisite. You have to go through this process, and for some counselors, they will say, go and work on this, you work on this, you work on this, and you guys come back in the next month or come back in the next 2 months. Let us see where you're at. Or you may have some counselors that say, hey, guess what? Based on what I'm seeing here, there are some things that we need to sort out. There are some misconceptions of what you believe marriage is. And because of all of that now, those things help us to understand that, hey, you're rushing it. And if you're rushing it and you're not going to go through the necessary prerequisites, then it's going to harm you in the future. So I don't believe that, these steps are being paid attention to as they should be. They are steps and we're just ticking them off, I believe. Premarital counseling, check. And then, of course, engagement, wedding date set, check. All of these things are checked and we're ready to get married. But did we really spend the time to go through the process instead of just ticking off the boxes? And lastly, I want to say, I'm not sure how it is with our counselors, because I know that there are many counselors that take the time to say, no, you're not ready as yet. Go and work on this, go and work on that. But I'm assuming that you're going to have some that are going to be like, oh, another couple, fine, come to 6 sessions and we'll sign you off and we see you again and go and get married and enjoy life. I believe that maybe we have some of that also.
This is a man way
really
above his age of wisdom, man. You sure you only married for 6 years?
6 years.
Yes, Kev, you were
So,
saying.
just want to underscore some significant things. Jace, you said proper preparation prevents poor performance. It's good to find yourself, know yourself. I normally do not like to do premarital counseling if persons have set the date. I tell them I don't want you to set any date because you may have to do some adjustment. Quite a few persons have not gone through after going through the premarital counseling. We do have great resources, written by Dr. Barry Davidson, questionnaire that counselors can use. We have offer training as well at Family Life Ministries for persons who want to sharpen their skills in preparing couples. And if we see any red flags, we must make a referral either to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, people to work on their unresolved issues so that they don't go into the marriage like that. But let me ask you personally, with all the divorce rate and the challenges of marriage, why did you get married? I mean, you know the difficulty, you know the challenges. Why did you just personally decide to go into this? Talk to us, like the truth.
I met the most beautiful girl, and I couldn't afford for any other man to get her, so I just grab her up quick.
I have a feeling she's listening and looking at us. So.
She's somewhere to either his left or right.
She's somewhere. She's somewhere. But I do run that joke with her all the time, though. I couldn't afford for any other man to get that beautiful woman there, man. I had to capture my opportunity. And many times she's like, why didn't you propose before? And I'm like, I'm here thinking that I'm ahead of the thing. You're saying, why didn't I propose before? But I believe, for me, I have been in the church since I've been in my mother's belly. My upbringing was that of a father, mother, husband, wife. So I didn't know anything else. There was no other option for me. I saw what a man is supposed to do. I saw what a woman is supposed to do in a marriage. And as far as I know, it's a covenant and it's a part of this Christian journey. If you are going to get married, it's a part of it that, you find a woman and when you feel like, hey, this is where the Lord is leading you. Yeah. So I think I remember I was in Burger King and we were having dinner or something, and I looked up, and it's almost like a radar or something just popped off. Like, this is how you make me feel. Thinking inside of myself, because as men, we don't always verbalize it. And of course, there are times now when the women are going to be wondering what's going on. But as men, sometimes we don't verbalize as much. And I remember, just kind of thinking about this in my heart. And I'm like, why am I not married to this woman? She makes me feel like how I want to feel. And, I just felt like this is the time, and I felt that green light in my spirit. And I believe that's how it started for me. But I had nothing else to give me another opinion. A man and a woman come together and make life work. Not a perfect man and a perfect woman, but imperfect and imperfect come together. And it doesn't become perfection either. It's still imperfect, but we're working together to make it work. And that's the model I saw. That's the only model I knew. And I'm happy that's the only model that I knew, because it has taught me a lot as it relates to being a good husband.
We want to talk a little bit more about that imperfect coming together with imperfect and providing that true imperfection that others will see, because I tend to believe we see these imperfections and then say, oh, everything is wrong, as opposed to the honesty. We want to talk a little bit more about that. But just before we do that, we just want to go and do a time signal, and we come right back here with Jace Mary. Back to you, studio.
Man, Integrity man, I am a man. Hey man, I am a man, I am a man, I am a man. Yes, strong man. Integrity.
Live Well Pharmacy has many services for diabetics. Stop by for your free blood sugar machine while stocks last. The time by Live Well Pharmacy is
6 p.m. on Love 101, the family station.
Here's why you can't afford to miss the Morning Watch.
I love listening to the Morning Watch because topics are discussed and issues are highlighted that are of major importance, which in turn edify me.
The Morning Watch, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
I like listening to the Morning Watch. I find it very informative. I find it very interesting. The topics that are covered are very, very wide.
The Morning Watch, thought-provoking, insightful, current. Listen for the probing questions with attorney at law Stokely Marshall and the in-depth discussion with Reverend Dr. Dylan Toussaint. The Morning Watch, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. The Morning Watch is on the family station Love 101. Every first and last Tuesday, the Morning Watch is brought to you by Home and Things, your construction finishes superstore.
Hey, psst, come closer. I want to tell you my secret. My son wears his favorite shirt for everything, and no matter how much he runs, jumps, and plays, it always looks like new and smells really good. My secret? I use Suavitel Superior Care. Keeps my family's clothes as good as new. Suavitel, as soft as a mother's love.
Munchie! Yes, Master I'm heading out now. Straight to Cars Auto a Montego Bay.
The entire Jamaica is heading to Cars Auto.
About variety, aye there. And the vehicle them clean as a whistle, and the price right. A two where them say good quality, best price.
Cars Auto.
Strong man, integrity man, I am a man. Hey man.
Welcome back. Remember, listeners, you're live on the Mailbox Monday. You know, we're live on Facebook and we're also live on YouTube. Not true, Kev? Man, only for man, good man to you.
Yeah,
but all these men are taken. We just want you to know we are taken. Sorry. So we're live on Facebook and we're live on YouTube. Love 101 FM Jamaica. You can leave your comments via our WhatsApp line at 876-997-3125, or you can give us a call on our studio line at 876-968-8327. Women, loving them. But remember, you can participate in the program by leaving us a message via WhatsApp or comment on our Facebook page. Females, remember, no calls or voice notes allowed, but we do love you. We're talking to Jace Mary, but before we even go any further, we were talking about perfection and imperfection. Is it that we are being presented with a fairy tale story of living happily ever after when you get married? And so that is what is causing a part of the problem, and persons who have imperfect marriage are covering it up to make it look perfect, but persons are afraid of being open. I made a statement: we live in such a hypocritical and condemnatory society that persons tend to plead the fifth and not become persons who are vulnerable to talk. Kev?
Yeah, so very important, this topic, and we're so excited to have Jace Mary with us. Jace, from your perspective again, we're so thankful for the way you have been answering the questions. Christian married men, you know, from you have been in church from you were in your mother's belly, and so you understand church people and run-ins. But tell us, you know, what do you think about the Christian married man? Is he setting the standard for the others to look and say, yeah, I want to emulate this? You know, we're men of faith, we're men of the Bible, we have anointing, we have giftings. And so from where you sit, honestly, if we were to look at the comparison between Christian men and non-Christian men, Do you think we're way out there setting the example and being the standard role model, or are there challenges? Your response, Jace.
Well, if I'm to say that if the church we see perfect married men, then I'd be a liar, because we hear every now and then of some Christian man, whether they're in a role of influence or not, walk out on the marriage, um, have relationship with other persons outside of that marriage. All of these things happen, and if we are to say that it doesn't happen in the church at all, then I believe it would be a lie. But I also believe that we have Christian men who, I believe, they model what a husband is supposed to look like. Now the big question comes up with what does a Christian husband look like? Because I believe that we get it kind of confused many times, because the first thing we think about, hey, it's a man that take care of a family. You think about yourself as the macho person, the one who wears the pants, as we like to say it, the one who is in charge, as we like to say it. But the truth is, what does a husband look like? Because if scripture says that husbands should love their wives like Christ loved the church, what does that love look like? Because the last time I checked, that love looks like Calvary. That love looks like someone who will lay it all down for you. But I don't believe that we really take it that far, because we have men, I believe, that we want to be husbands based on how society says a husband is supposed to be. We're supposed to be in charge. We're not supposed to be in a situation that the woman have to pay for something for us, because our ego begins to take over there. We're supposed to always provide. We're never supposed to be out of a job. We're always supposed to be in a job. If anybody's supposed to be out of a job, it should be the woman, because we're the man. We should be in charge. We should be running things. It's all up to us. When something needs to happen in the house, it's all about us. That's what society says that a married man looks like. But the truth is, if we're to follow scripture, if we're supposed to love that woman like Christ loved the church, everything comes from a place of love first. Not my authority, not my what society says, but because I love this woman, that's all that I'm going to operate from. And if I love this person, I want the best for them. If I want the best for them, I'm going to go out of my way. I'm going to make sacrifices for them. Why? Because love is what's driving it. It's not what society says. It's not my bank account. It's not my... And don't get me wrong. I mean, there's something inside of us as men. We can never deny it. We want to know that we are providing. We want to know that we are being the man that society says. But at the same time, I believe that we're overlooking that part. And I do believe that they're Christian men. They're setting an example. But I also believe that there are non-Christian men who are also setting an example. It's just that there's another component that I believe brings us into another level to love our wives because we are in love with Christ. No, an unsaved cannot do that, because an unsaved, they don't know who Christ is. And I believe that there is something about a man who is connected to God, and out of that connection, he's connected to his wife. I believe is a different kind of love. But there are unsaved men out there. They are being good husbands. There are saved men out there. They're being good husbands. Are we always setting the good example as Christians? Not all the time. But I believe we see where we have, Christian families. And based on what we can see, and I say based on what we can see, because I just said before, we don't necessarily like to share many times. As men, maybe how the church have it, don't tell them say una have like una not getting along. When you go to church, even if you were cursing at home, when you go to church, you better pretend like everything all right. You hear? You better smile like everything all right. You hear? You better come hug me like everything all right. You hear? Because we can't make the church them know so we have a disagreement this morning. You better come kiss me on my cheek so that we look good. And the truth is, you said it, Kevin, we need to be honest. We need to be honest. There are times when things are not going good. And I believe that we've only been able to show one side of things when things are going good. But I believe our children, I believe men in society who are not saved, they need to also see that, hey, I'm a Christian man, yes, but at the same time, I go through my struggles. I go through my situation. And I'm not saying that you're to go and flaunt your troubles. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying be real. Life is not perfect. Marriage is not perfect because I went into marriage thinking that it was something perfect. And then when the issues started, I'm like, something not right. Yeah, so I know marriage this. I know marriage this. Why? Because I grew up in the church. I only saw one side. I only saw the side when things are going good. And of course, coming from the old school, you don't make your children know when you're having a fight. We keep that quiet. You can't make the children know that we're having a fight. We can have our fight in our own personal space. But I believe sometimes we need to also, let our children know and let society know that not because I'm a Christian, it doesn't mean that it's perfect. There are times when we go through things. There are times when I don't want to talk to my wife. And I tell her to, Kevin and Pastor Mark, I tell her, I don't want to talk to you right now. I love you, but I don't like you right now. And we have to be real because you have two persons coming together, different background, different personality. No, if things are perfect, then something is wrong. Something is wrong. But I believe that we're going to go through our situation. We need to be honest.
Jace, I want to touch that because I know we have a vox pop and we need to go to it, but I want to touch that. Do you believe our men in marriages are allowed to be honest? And when I say being allowed to be honest, especially the situation you describe it in church and society as a large, that our very church people, leaders, and especially if the man is a leader in the church, that he will be so ostracized and so punished that the church doesn't even know what restoration is and continue to perpetuate the fallacy of that Christian marriages are perfect. And if something goes wrong, let's take him out of leadership. Let's do some things with him, as opposed to how am I able to restore? I said, I posted this to Facebook today. We're living in such a hypocritical, condemnatory society. And I'm talking about both church and society at large, that persons are not able to be vulnerable because they are afraid. And Kevin, they are afraid that if they ever open their mouth and become vulnerable, the same persons who they thought would be their protector would now become their gallows person. Are we allowing our men and marriages to be real? And are we talking about even if there's domestic violence? Because I believe both men and women in marriage situations, especially Christian marriage, are ashamed to even declare that that is happening because, again, of what happened. Are we allowed? Are we being allowed? And is it right? Should it be allowed? For persons to be open like that to share? Is it that we believe persons won't be able to deal with it, accept it, or even work it out? And I really love what you say. I believe sometimes our children need to see some of the wrongs and see the solution to the wrongs so that they know that if in their own situations, hey, marriage is a solution-based institution, that problems will occur, but they can be fixed. Are we being allowed to be honest?
As you raised that question, another question came up to me. How many of us would call our male friend and tell our male friend that we're going through our issues in our marriage? How many of us would call our men's director? How many of us would call our church brother and say, you know that I've been having this issue for years? How many of us as men, not only in the church, even in society, how many men are going to get up and say, hey, John, say, may I have this issue, and this issue really affecting me, and I don't know how to deal with it. How many of us are going to take up ourselves and actually do that? And I'm sure you can guess that there are not many men that would actually get up and call another man and share, which means that we are not open as yet to really talk about these things as men, because how we see it is that a man needs to run his house. I'm going to say run his house. I don't mean in a dominance kind of way. A man needs to make sure everything all right, make sure say at home you are okay. So of course, so this marriage might have some little issues here. Another male over there may have some little issues. Maybe I've already overcome that issue, but you're just going through it. Just like the both of you. The both of you are now, in 30 years of being married. I'm in 6. I'm on 6. Now, there are many things that I'm sure I am going through and I will go through that you've already been through. And if I was ever open enough to just say, I'm struggling with this, the both of you could share wisdom and say, yes, I remember going through this, I remember going through this in my 4th year or my 5th year. And this is how we dealt with it. But how many of us are ready to talk about it? Even me, if I'm being honest, I believe that I'm just trying to push past that barrier of fear. Being a leader in the church, naturally, you begin to put up some walls because there are expectations of you. Not only a leader, but as a man, there are expectations of you. And, there shouldn't be times when things are not going right because you should be in control. You're the man. When the truth is, there are times when there are questions and we want the questions to be answered, and we're not talking to other males because we're not open enough. We don't want to share that, hey, that I'm having this issue. But if we can only find those persons that we can confide in, who've been there before, we will be surprised to know that, hey, they've been there before, and this is what they are encouraging us to do at this stage in our marriage. I don't believe that we're honest enough, because if we were honest enough, we would hear more persons talking about the issues instead of just hearing one-sided. And the one-sided is that everything is good at home. So how is your wife? How is everything? We're just trying to walk out this Christian journey and love each other and be married. We're just making the best of this marriage. But at the same time, that you've been struggling with something for the last 3 months, the last 4 months. But it looks good and it sounds good to say everything is okay. But we need to be honest, Pastor Morrison and Kevin. We need to be honest and say everything is not. And I'm not saying that we're going to advertise this every day. Every day you complain about your marriage. Then you need counseling. You need something. But there are times when you're going through something and you need someone. You need another male. You need another male, because that's the other thing now. Sometimes we may find another female that we want to go and talk to, and that's not wisdom at all. We need to find another man and share and say, hey, I've been going through this, and you've been married for so many years. How did you handle this? And the thing is, we would be frightened to know that that person went through it also, but we would never know because they were never honest either. So we need to be more honest about these things.
Thank you, Jace. So we're here challenging, encouraging our men to create safe spaces. Sometimes somebody has to take the lead to be vulnerable, and knowing that there are consequences, lots of consequences at times. We're encouraged. We see, men's groups, small groups forming, and men are trying, to create safe spaces. So we want to encourage that, activity to continue, so that, what the word says, confess your faults one to the other and pray that you might be healed. And I often think that there's certain healing processes that we have not been able to achieve because we need another human being, flesh and blood. There's confession to God, which is different than confession to man. And I think we're robbing of ourselves, especially when it comes to sexual addictions and certain addictions. You need a human being. That's how God put it, divine order. And we're missing out on getting the healing because we are not following that by finding a flesh and blood that you can hold you accountable as well. So thank you so much. Courtney, I think you said we have a Vox Pop.
Yes, I see it here. We want to Outer Road feature here that we have a 2 minutes Vox Pop, okay. And we want to go to that. We want to hear, do married men stay in their lane, or is it always the single woman's fault? We hear what the man them Outer Road have to say. So let's go to Outer Road.
Integrity man, I am
All right, for me, I don't think it is solely dependent on single women or solely dependent on married men. All right, it's twofolded. Some of the times, the married men they sometimes get tired of the same person, the same. It's like the routine over and over. So they sometimes go out of the relationship. Now, for single women, sometimes some of the single women they see married men are as mature more mature or more responsible. So because of that, they sometimes gravitate to them in that sense. So it's not solely dependent on one part.
For the first question, basically, what I would say is that it would be like equality, basically saying that Jamaican man thinks that every woman married is supposed to stay home or be able to actually cook, clean, and wash. In terms of the second question, it would be straight towards the sometimes men still in them area. I understand. So you don't really have much more to expound on that. But a man typically they like show emotion. Them always try to hide it, you understand?
Okay, well, it is not a one man thing or a one woman thing. Because if you don't put yourself out there, you cannot get entangled in another relationship or get entangled with anybody else, right? Because they can always say no to stuff. They can always say no to stuff or stop certain things. As I see when them wait at 8 years, isn't it? So you cannot blame man alone. You have to blame both of them, right? And most females, you have to just blame both of them. You have to just blame both of them.
Greetings. The stereotypes that come to mind are not unique to Jamaican married men. I think it's kind of difficult for me to identify those. But nonetheless, the ones that came to mind are number one, infidelity. Number two, this macho thing that man must tough, man a cry, man express themselves kind of vibe. And number three, the third one that comes to mind is that they must have the last say, and they must run the house and not run around the house, and that sometimes translates to being a bully. Sometimes it translates to physical abuse and even verbal abuse. The second question. Now, this is a matter of character on the part of the married man as well as the single woman. Both persons would be at fault if they end up in a relationship for obvious reasons. The man should not step out of his marriage, and the woman being single should not be involved with a married man. So they're both responsible and should be held accountable for, if they get involved. Greetings. So the question, what are the stereotypes about Jamaican married men? That's a little difficult for me to answer. Why? Because I'm figuring that my answer really is applicable also to single Jamaican men. So, but anyway, let me still jump into it. Stereotype number one that comes to mind is the issue of infidelity. Secondly, Jamaican men, married men, I'm thinking another stereotype is that they believe that they should be in charge at all times, and they must just say jump, and the wife say how high. And thirdly, their manliness and their power is determined by education, by finances, by physical strength, etc. Question number two. Do married men stay in their lanes, or is it always a single woman's fault? In this case, both persons are at fault. I mean, the married man is wrong to go outside the marriage, and a single woman is wrong to be with a married man. So they are both at fault. So the responsibility lies on each of them to maintain boundaries. Hope my answers are sufficient. Blessings.
Hey, you just heard what the man them outer road office said. And the questions were, do married men stay in their lane or is it always the single woman's fault? Hey, Thank you for listening to that Vox Pop. Jace, anything that you'd like to comment on that you heard there that you specifically want to talk to? We want to also touch a bit on our favorite folder after this that says, do some women miss out on a good man because of his height? So we want to touch that because we only have 5 minutes left. But anything in particular you wanted to comment on in that Vox Pop?
Not the Vox Pop, but I would really want to comment on that height issue, given where my wife is compared to me.
Yes.
Because I'm 6'2" and she's 4'11".
Wow.
So of course, you know that's a big gap. But I do know that many women, and I believe men too, women have a checklist. I believe. What the man is supposed to look like. And not every woman, but I believe that society also dictates this part also. He needs to be, dark, handsome. He needs to be chocolate. He needs to be tall. He needs to have a little muscle, because when we're walking with him in halfway tree, we need him chest to be pushing out. We need to know that him look good. I don't want to be taller than him. There are a lot of women, I believe that, hey, if the man is shorter, they want to say, something not right there. But I believe it goes both ways. But I know that we many times just talk about the side of the female. But as men, what has society said that a woman is supposed to look like? Tall Indian hair, light skin, and of course, supposed to have some little curvatures. As men, I believe we have our own imagination, thinking of what a woman is supposed to look like. But I believe that there are a lot of women that they do miss out because they're not looking, because we hear the testimonies. That I wasn't really, that I never know I would have married to him. Because I see me now, but me just never did I feel it. Something just never right. But then when I really got to know this man, we never care about him height, we never care about him complexion, we never care about him muscle or him fat. Me know say there's something in that man that I want. And I believe we all have our little checklist inside without even realizing we have a little checklist, but we need to be open. Because our checklist don't always look like what God's checklist look like. And sometimes we may overlook because we are looking in one direction. So yes, I do believe that some have their own checklist, but I do believe that there are other women that they just want a man to love them. They just want a man to care for them. They just want a man to, show them what love looks like.
So
that's what
at close, what are the women to look for in a man if they're considering they want to be married? You've been a married man. What are the characteristics you would say if you were to come up with 3 or 4 that you want to tell our women? These are the things you look for if you are going to be committed to the man. What would those be as we bring this program to a conclusion, Jace?
Well, I must say, first of all, that we want to see the Lord in that man. And as a married man, there's no way that I could have been the husband I am today without a relationship with the Lord. There are some times when you want to respond. There are some times when you want to say some things, and the Lord say, hey, that's your wife there. Watch yourself. Watch yourself. And it's true. If you can find a man that loves the Lord will correct him. The Lord will work on him. The Lord will transform him once he's open to that. So number one, I believe that look for a man that loves the Lord. Because if that man loves the Lord, that man is going to love you. Guaranteed. Hands down, he's going to love you. And I also, encourage women to look at his weaknesses. And let me tell you why. Maybe you're in courting and you're getting to know the person and you realize that the person snaps at you. He gets very aggravated. He gets very angry. He gets very dominant, like he wants to hit you. he's verbally abusing it even before you get married. And I believe this is where we go wrong, because we think marriage is going to fix that. We think marriage is going to turn around that. If he's abusive in marriage, I'm almost sure that he's going to be abusive at the same time. So stop trying to allow, marriage to fix that. Look for a man that treats you right. Look for a man that loves the Lord. And I believe just look for a man that, you see the sacrifice. And when I say the sacrifice, I don't mean to go, over and beyond, and he misses that union side, but he will go out of his way because of how he loves you, because of how he cares for you. And I believe those are some of the things that you can look for. But don't expect marriage to change that man. Don't expect marriage to change that woman. Only the Lord can do that.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you. Thanks to our producer, Tony K. Bromfield, to Nissan Williams for technical support, and to our guest, Jace Mary of I Am Remnant Jamaica. He's a videographer and photographer. Check in with him, no? Blessings. Kev?
Yes, listen again next week, same place, same time, for another show in The Mailbox, the program designed for men with guests for men, hosted by men. This is Kevin Bailey.
And I'm Courtney Morrison. Next week, Monday.
Strong man, integrity man. I am a man. Man.